Bonjour à tous, merci beaucoup d'être aussi nombreux. Certains visages familiers. Donc, je suis Justine Rist, je dirige le développement de Twitter en France. Pour la première fois, Twitter est présent au MIPCOM dans une délégation aussi nombreuse parce que le lien entre Twitter et la télé est profond. Et donc, pendant cette heure, toutes les équipes de télé internationales chez nous vont analyser la richesse et le potentiel de cette relation pour vous diffuseurs, pour vous producteurs. Alors, avant de démarrer, j'ai une petite question. Qui d'entre vous dans la salle est sur Twitter? Who's on Twitter? All right. So, je vous invite, n'hésitez pas à commenter cette keynote avec le hashtag TV fois Twitter. Please live tweet with the TV times Twitter hashtag, which is our official hashtag. Et sans plus attendre, je vous présente Fred Graeber, qui est notre directeur créatif télé Twitter US.
Bonjour à tous. Je suis Fred Graeber, American. Is it obvious? Pretty obvious? So this is, I think, my 7th or 8th MIP. It is the first time I've been on stage in a MIP, so I'm kind of thrilled and honored, and I'm really happy to be here with our team, our global TV team. As Justine said, I am the creative lead for Twitter, and what we do is we work with our TV partners, with producers, with creators, with talent, to create great experiences on Twitter that extend the storytelling that you begin on TV. And I can remember, because I've been in this business for a long time, when TV was pretty special. Just being on TV was special, and there were moments when the entire country, the entire world, was watching what's on TV. And it felt really great. And just being on TV was good, right? And now we're in a world where the work that we all do gets spread on hundreds of channels, thousands of channels, dozens of devices, and you come to a place like this, and they refer to our hard work as content, right? Which just shows how hard it is to stand out in this market. And we have to find new and innovative ways for TV to feel really special again. For people, for the families sitting around the couch, for the people who are sitting there watching what we create, to really bond with it and engage with it. And you know when those moments happen, right? And those moments happen every night. You script them, you produce them, you make them happen. Or sometimes they happen just like this, of the last summer during the World Cup. This blue line here are tweets per minute. And you can literally watch the audience holding their breath. And then you can see the roar of the crowd, the shouting. Twitter is the heartbeat, the nervous system, the pulse of the audience. We see it in sporting events. We see it in reality competition. We see it on award shows. We see it time and time again. And that notion of Twitter being the heartbeat, being the pulse of the audience, isn't just a metaphor. It's real. This video shows an experiment that we did where we hooked up people to devices to measure the way their eyes were moving, to measure their skin response, to measure their nervous system, their physiological responses to TV and Twitter. We divided the audience up into two parts. The first part was without Twitter. The second part received horrible shocks whenever they saw the Kardashians. No, not true. It was Lady Gaga. No, the first part of the audience was watching TV with Twitter, and we had them measured. And the second part was watching TV without Twitter. And here's the results. Of course, it's television, right? Television is great. And by the way, we make better television now than we ever had before. Television is this mass cultural phenomenon that is driving the artistic culture in the world right now. So, and of course, the audience is going to react without Twitter. They're going to love it, right? But with Twitter, we get twice the emotional connection that you do without Twitter. Twitter is the way to answer that problem of how do you make your programming stand out? How do you seal a bond with the audience around the great moments that you create? And the reason Twitter is that platform, is that device, is because of 4 qualities that we have that no other social platform has. The first is we're live. There is no distance between when a tweet is created and when it's consumed. You all have that phenomenon, right? You use Twitter, you hit send, and before you, in a second, somebody has favorited it or retweeted it. Twitter is public. There's no algorithm, there's no edge rank, there's nothing to keep your tweet, the tweet from your network, your show, your talent, from reaching everyone, right? So all the work you do on TV, all the work you do on Twitter reaches everyone, and there's nothing to keep you from seeing the tweets of your audience. There's nothing to hold those back. And Twitter is conversational, right? There's a thing about watching television, good television, where you have to just turn to somebody and go, did you see that? OMG, that was awesome, right? Or, not so much. That conversation carries on Twitter, right? The audience takes your show and they make it their own, right? And that conversation spreads. Twitter is distributed. It appears not only on the Twitter platform, but Twitter appears in websites, on apps, in newspapers, on television. It permeates the entire culture. We all have this experience of turning on a morning show, and they're talking about television last night. They don't just talk about the show, they talk about the Twitter conversation. That conversation is shared with 271 million users, 78% of whom are on mobile. So it's portable, it's easy, it's right there where you are, wherever you're watching television. And we process 500 million tweets a day. That's 500 million, that's 60,000 tweets a second. In the time I've been here, we have processed 1.5 million tweets. 95% of the public conversation about TV happens on Twitter. We are the social platform for TV. And here's the slide that shows that we're all in the same business together. 70% of the tweets that are created and consumed are done so during the broadcast window. So getting the audience in front of the TV, on the couch, at a certain time, at a certain day, is your business and it's our business. It's also your business to deliver C3 and C7 ratings. That live conversation, we know, is seen by the audience at large and carries on in the days forward. And people who see those tweets early on, when the program is live, go, I have to watch that tomorrow on the website or on an app. Every day, we are kind of amazed by the things that we see our partners do and the way that they adapt our platform. These are examples all from the past few weeks. We've seen Channel 7 put tweets inside of their promotions. We've seen Bungie in Brazil use Twitter questions in the governor's race, in the debates. We've seen Channel 1 in Russia put hashtags and @handles on their news broadcast. There's a live musical jukebox in India that is powered by Twitter. And live tweeting, kind of the state of the art of tweeting during a show, is taking over. This is an example of Veronica Ferris in Germany live tweeting an especially controversial episode of her series. And Variety just published an article saying that actors are a TV show's greatest asset, particularly live tweeting actors. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the ways that Twitter makes this work. We're going to talk about how we continue to work with you and how we're going to work in the future. We're going to begin with our partnerships. And the reason our partnerships work is because most of the people in our global TV team come from your world. They come from television. We are award-winning writers, producers, executives. We have worked for Endemol, for Talpa, for Fremantle, for Shine, for 20th Century Fox, for Viacom, for NBC. That's just my career. And I've been fired by all of them, too, which is great. We come out of your world, right? We get what you get. We can roll our sleeves up, get in the truck at an award show, understand the graphics system that you use, and plug Twitter into it. That's who we are. That's how we work. And our partnerships are built around that, and you're going to hear about some of the great examples that we have. We're also going to talk about data. We're going to show you research that we have that proves all of the things that we're telling you through our best practices. It's going to show you the value of the audience on Twitter, what the audience does, and how they are really valuable to your advertisers. We're going to show you data that you can take back tomorrow to your networks and your shows and put into action. We're also going to talk about money. Now, there's money that is drifting away from television onto digital. It's a fact. Twitter has devised a program, the Amplify program, to help you capture that money and help you make money from the conversation that you begin on Twitter. And we're going to take you through that. And finally, we're going to take you through our team. We're going to take you through how we're organized globally, how you can reach us, how you can work with us. And I'm very lucky to have a number of the really great members of our team with us today. One of them is the Director of Partnerships in the UK, Mr. Dan Biddle.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, so we'll talk through some of the partnerships and the way that we work internationally. I work in the UK with all of the broadcasters and producers. And we'll start to look, I'm going to go back to that idea of the pulse, of the Neymar goal and the penalties. And that's obviously a live moment in a big football event. But let's look at the pulse of a format, of a TV show. And I'm going to use an example here, a recent show called Release the Hounds from Sony Pictures TV on ITV2. It's a show where contestants are placed in a scary forest, money is put on their backs, and they are chased down by wild dogs. It's great television. So let's look at the Twitter pattern, the conversation that happens around that show, and how you can start to see that conversation and those great moments that happen and the spikes. Here you can see this is a graph of the tweets per minute that happen over the course of the TX. And as you can see, the big bulk there in the middle is the TX window. And there are certain spikes, certain moments that people tweet about more than other moments. Now, ITV2 put this pilot out on an evening, and then on Halloween, they repeated it. And on that night, with a different audience, you can see exactly the same pattern of Twitter activity. The TV, that show, moved the audience in the same way. It's quite predictable. You can start to really learn in real time what your shows are doing to your audience and how your audience are reacting. And these moments, these spikes, we call tweet spots. They're the moments that people turn to, the OMG moments, and go, I have to share this. Twitter is the water cooler conversation that won't wait till tomorrow. They have to share it right now. And these spikes, the job of the producer, these are going to happen anyway because you're making great TV. But how do you make the second screen as important to your brand as the first screen? How do you make yourself well known there? Well, you take those tweet spots that you know are going to happen because you've edited your show to be brilliant, to move people, to laugh, to cry, whatever, and you get an asset, a video, a clip, a picture, just a great line, and you tweet it out. You give people the tweet that they wish they'd tweeted, the serotonin tweet, the tweet that goes out and people really get. That's how I feel about this show. That's how I feel about this moment where the hand suddenly plunged out of a bloodied cot and attacked this guy. Next, bring on the hounds. This is how the audience feels, and this is what the audience rewards. And it's not just about sharing and social in the moment. It's also about the reach. Because for every reader on Twitter, for every author on Twitter, you can guarantee that there's another 50 or so readers looking at those tweets. And that's the reach and the impressions that we get. Taking an example of the Ellen selfie from the Oscars, retweeted 3.4 million times. I mean, I was one of those. There's probably a few people who were in the room part of that as well. Now, what we know is that the readers of that, it reached 3.3 billion impressions on Twitter of people seeing that tweet. And now, that's fantastic, obviously, around that show. But let's, as some people say in meetings, take it offline. Going on to the newspapers, the news shows, the programs, all of the other media that couldn't do anything but talk about that tweet, by the end of it, you had 4.2 billion estimated impressions. The number of people who saw that tweet was colossal. The reach is colossal. And the reason for that is that tweets don't disappear down a well. Unlike any other sort of interaction that we used to have on television and radio, was email us, text us, phone us. If I didn't get read out on the show, then I might as well not have done it. I was just a light dying on a desk. I was a letter never read. Twitter, it's public, it's conversational, it all reaches people. It's part of a bigger moment. So how do we make that work? And talking about the partnerships, how do we work together? Well, I've got 3 key pillars here on the triangle. Number 1, hashtags. Hashtags, you'll have all seen them on TV nowadays in the lower third. These are the topic, the moment, the conversation point. These are what I would think of as being the campfire around which we're telling stories. And every time you put a hashtag on air, people tweet more. Every time you put a hashtag on air, you're throwing another log on that fire. And you're saying, come on, sing up. Talk about the show. Then there's the handles, @handles. That's your presence on Twitter. That's your relationship on Twitter. That's the voice that you have. That's the voice that should be the best voice around that campfire, and that's the voice that continues to talk to the audience after your TX window is gone. And then there's interactions, amplifications. How do you make followers? How do you make the hashtag work for you? How do you turn it into something more? How do you make it work? So a couple of examples here. First of all is Doctor Who. Doctor Who's 50th anniversary, they used a hashtag called #SaveTheDay. Not hashtag Doctor Who, that was the hashtag of the TX moment, but #SaveTheDay was the marketing campaign 6 weeks leading up to. And the idea being that every time that you used #SaveTheDay, we're talking about the 23rd of November, it's a massive international event shown in about 90 countries worldwide. Let's get excited about this, Doctor Who fans. Every time people tweeted using #SaveTheDay, the tweet appeared as a giant golden star in a big TARDIS in space, but also, more useful for everybody, it activated what we call a flock-to-unlock mechanic, whereby at a certain number of tweets, say 1,000 tweets using #SaveTheDay, it unlocked a piece of content, a teaser clip. At 5,000, another piece of teaser clip. 10,000, etc., etc. You love Doctor Who? We know you love Doctor Who. We've got some amazing content to share with you. Let's talk about Doctor Who, and we will reward that. It's the virtuous cycle of reward, fandom, reward, conversation, and every time a hashtag goes out, every time a tweet goes out, it's more people talking about that Doctor Who show or your show. As I say, you're followed. You don't see the @ handle on screen as often as you do the hashtag, which is strange because, as I say, the @ handle is actually you. That is the voice of your show or the voice of your talent. And it's the voice that can connect with people long after the show is gone. Remembering that in most cases, the first screen, second screen idea, the first screen, the television, is only the first screen for 1 hour a week. For the rest of the time, it's that mobile device that people are looking on and the train platforms, waiting for buses, or, when the other shows are on. That's where you can be. Twitter is the channel you are always on and that people are always on. And that's your availability. Get your handle out there. And the trick to that, let people know you're on. Put it on your advertising, put it in your shows. Let people know. You can see here, when The Apprentice started putting @BBC Apprentice on its shows at the beginning of the credits, saw a massive bump in followers, a massive growth compared to the previous series. Get it out there, people will follow. And it's part of your whole sort of digital proposition. It's part of your strategy. It's not just Twitter and nothing else. People tend to get quite zero-sum game in this world. It's not. Twitter is just part of your digital strategy. This is a nice example. I saw this tweeted by Brilliant Ads, a great account. And this example here of looking at an email address and just thinking and using it as an aid memoir of Twitter is at the heart of your digital strategy, but there's more to it than that. Twitter can link off to your VOD, to your website, to more things that you want people to drive to. And an example that we have of thinking about the whole digital strategy, the whole firmament, comes in Hannibal. Hannibal was a pretty good series for Sony Pictures and NBC, and they had a good run. And they noticed that after the series, there was a lot of talk around iTunes downloads. There was a lot of talk on social. There were a lot of Amazon Instant video views, and they came to us saying, "What can we do with this? There's something going on here. People are talking." We want to make the most of that Twitter conversation as we lead up to season 2. So we came up with the 13-hour Devour with them, which is basically tapping into that binge viewing thing that we've all got going on, and that sharing thing that we've got going on, tapping into the two channels and bringing them together. So we got Hannibal brought the cast, the crew together to watch on Amazon Instant, all in a big run-up to the second series that was coming the following week. And by that time, when the second series did air, it had more viewing figures than any of the episodes in the first series, because they had boosted and built and fomented that conversation. And that's live tweeting, as Fred has said, is one of the meat and potato things now of Twitter and TV. Getting your cast, getting that really authentic and, let's face it, influential voice onto that massive sofa that is Twitter to watch the TX with you. It's amazing. It brings the cast, the crew, and the audience together and really benefits the show. But don't take my word for it. Take Scandal here, who are one of the greatest and the best of it, as their cast explain how they use Twitter.
When we live tweet every episode, it's just awesome.
We voluntarily show up with great enthusiasm and maybe obsession.
As the show is airing, people are reacting.
That excitement is contagious.
I think they feel a connection with us because we're responding to their questions about a certain scene.
I feel like that really spread the word and got people really excited.
The person they're looking for, the one they think shot the president, that's me.
It's a nice relationship that we get to thank them every week.
Every week we were checking the ratings and sort of sweating whether we were going to be on the following week to show that people are talking about, people are buzzing about, and I think a lot of that talk and buzz was generated through social media.
You need to watch how you treat the prisoner on American soil.
Oprah, that's how she found out about Scandal and was like, wow, a lot of people are on Twitter talking about it, so I think I need to watch the show.
I try to always answer the people who are diehard fans.
A lot of them tweet us back and say how they recruited gladiators. We call ourselves gladiators. It's gladiators, the gladiators.
It's so much fun tweeting with the gladiators.
The hashtags are amazing.
Fans are sometimes even ahead of us creating their own.
I'm Quinn, bitch. I get tweeted that hashtag all the time.
The show is a smart, exciting, witty show, and so the fact that the hashtags are cool and witty in that same way, it sort of fits in with the whole culture of what we're doing.
It expands the community because when you put that question out there, then everybody starts answering. It's a Scandal party on Twitter every Thursday night. We shut it down.
Tell me you shut it down.
I'll shut it down.
Shut it down. That's one of my favorites.
Very good.
And that was ABC who made that, by the way. The cast made that. That wasn't just us. And so taking that idea of the cast and the power of the cast and the power of your voice on Twitter, moving into that final part, your audience and them on Twitter and what you can do with that. I'm going to introduce our head of TV partnerships in Australia, Tony Broderick.
Thank you, Dan. So, reality competitions and Twitter just seem made for each other. In my previous roles at Fremantle Media in the UK and Australia, I saw this firsthand every day on shows such as The X Factor, Got Talent, and Idols. But we always find that we reach the best results when we work together with our partners from the inception. And there probably isn't a better example of this than The Voice, a global phenomenon that we're very proud to be working with Talpa on worldwide. In the US, The Voice was already one of the most social shows on television, but we wanted to take this even further. We worked very closely, months out from TX, with the producers Mark Burnett and Talpa to create a brand new voting mechanic and call to action that allowed the audience at home to really impact the show and save an eliminated contestant. I should stress, this didn't replace the traditional premium voting which exists in this show. This isn't something to replace that. This is something to complement that. A flash save vote during the episode to create buzz and drive tune-in. Here's a short video to explain how it worked.
Hey, it's Carson Daly, and we've got something that's going to completely change the game for all of you watching at home. On Monday, you vote to keep your favorite artist in this competition. Then on Tuesday's live elimination show, after we announce your saved artist, we will reveal the 3 remaining singers that are in danger of going home.
They will have one final performance, one last chance to sing and prove to you why they should stay in the competition.
That's when you come in. You'll have just 5 minutes to save an artist. Here's how. When I give you the signal during Tuesday's show, tweet using hashtag VoiceSave and one of the bottom 3 artists' first name in the tweet. The artist with the most mentions will be instantly saved.
So that's how it's worked, and these were the results. We saw just under 1.5 million tweets over a 5-minute window, which is pretty fantastic. This is the sort of volume you would expect to see around one of America's biggest award shows. And it's only, this sort of number is something you can only reach on Twitter, which is such a public social platform. Further to that, we saw tens of thousands of users sign up to the platform for the very first time, send a tweet with the VoiceSave hashtag, and then sign up and follow the official Voice account. therefore creating that direct relationship with the show. This is even more exciting. In later episodes, we actually squeezed the commercial break and showed the real-time vote as it unfolded on screen. You can see this actually changing here at the bottom. For the first time ever, the audience could see who was in the lead and change the outcome by the time we returned to the show. As the producer of the series, Mark Burnett, said after the first time we did the voice save, this changes everything. We can never go back. And he's right. Since then, we've repeated it 8 times, and on every occasion, the Twitter conversation and the ratings have been amongst the highest of any episode. But innovation moves very quickly and all across the globe. Star Academy recently premiered, and ooh, what a thought there. Star Academy recently premiered and essentially kind of provided a 360-degree experience for their fans. Unfortunately, we can't show you some visuals, but just to talk you through them. They promoted their show Handle on air during the entire episode. They live tweeted behind-the-scenes content such as photos and vines. They took a Twitter mirror, which is a selfie machine that we have, and gave people the audience perspective of what it was like to be on screen by taking a photo and projecting that out. In short, they took what was could have been just another singing show and made it a massive live event. And now to hand over to give you some insight into some of the data behind these case studies, I'd like to introduce Anjali from our Global Media Research team.
Thank you. My name is Anjali. It's really wonderful to be here. Thank you for having us. I head up global media research for Twitter, as Tony just mentioned. And the data section is going to be a lot harder if I don't actually have slides. So I'm going to need you all to pull out your phones. I'm going to take notes today. We're going to do this the hard way. Oh, actually, let's see. It looks like it might be coming back in just a second. Just give me 1 second. Might be my lucky day. All right, well, while we're getting this queued back up again, there's one quick phenomena that I want to share with you that we're starting to see happen more and more often on Twitter. And so I wanted to start, because I have the privilege of giving you guys all the information on what works and doesn't work, so I only have one beautiful slide. These guys got to give you all the beautiful content earlier. So here is my one attempt at something that is a little bit more visually stimulating. What we're looking at here is actually some real data from Brazil, actually, while the World Cup was airing live on television. So we learned, actually, from one of the premier providers of basically banner advertising in Brazil that they saw a 37% decrease in banner ad impressions while the games were coming on. And for us on the Twitter side, we thought, that's sort of strange to see such a depression in demand for banner advertising. I wonder if we're seeing kind of a comparable effect on Twitter. In fact, it was the exact opposite. So we saw an increase in tweets, an increase in impressions, and actually one of the things we're looking at right now is the increase in actual users, eyeballs, if you will, that were on the Twitter platform while this event was coming on TV. So just to kind of like give you a sense of what's happening, the audience is actually shifted to Twitter while the event is happening on TV, and you can kind of think of that as a springboard for all the rest of your wonderful content, digital programming, etc. This is where people are when they're watching the big screen and the best content that you guys put out there, they're talking about it and chatting about it on the Twitter platform. So let's get into some of the numbers here. So first, how big is this? I think the team here has shown you some really wonderful examples of very massive shows doing very innovative things on television, integrating Twitter. But it's not just the big shows that are doing this. So what we did is we actually looked, this is US data, so just a caveat. We'll be doing this, of course, in many more countries as we move forward. But looking at just in the US, we looked at primetime, and what we realized is that roughly 3/4 of all primetime programming now includes either a hashtag, an @handle, or some sort of tweets or voting mechanism. That's quite a lot. I was actually Even as a researcher, I don't think I would have put my money on something quite that high, but it's fantastic to see that it's not just The Voice and it's not just Scandal. It's really all programmers are beginning to embrace this and understand how this can actually help their shows. The other statistic that I'll point out on this slide is the 5.01, which is the number of times things are showing up in the content as it progresses. So in a single telecast, we're seeing an average of about 5 integrations, meaning 5 different hashtags or 5 @handles, et cetera, through the live program. Does it work? That's the big question that I think we're all here and excited to learn about today. So I'm very, very happy to share with you that, in fact, it does work, and we're starting to get in some early results from all of this fantastic activity. So here's a quick look at what's actually happening with all of the great things you guys do on the big screen. This actually is specifically related to reality in the US. What we did is we looked at reality programming because reality in particular, as I'm sure you guys probably know better than I do, has the opportunity to create different hashtags as moments in the show continue or as different contestants come up and off the stage. So we looked at the actual tweets per minute. When you introduce a hashtag on the big screen, there's an actual 20% lift in tweets per minute when you introduce it versus when audiences organically create their own hashtags. So right off the bat, we can see that when you guys actually take the time to think about how to bring your audiences into the conversation, it's really working. The other thing we wanted to take a look at is actually the quality of the conversation. So you're able to cue audiences that a conversation is taking place, but what about that quality? So we looked at when organic hashtags are created, so let's just say it's me sitting on my couch watching a show and something happens and I decide to create my own hashtag. Usually, at most, about 10% of the audience might pick that hashtag up and start to use it. When you guys put it on the big screen, more than a fourth, which means now the conversation is curated, it's easier to find, and actually it has a better chance of trending in users' timelines because it is now gathering momentum behind a single hashtag. So really interesting stuff. But we wanted to take it a step further. So that kind of covers a little bit of a glimpse of how things are working when you actually apply them to the big screen. But we wanted to understand also, what about all the efforts that we put in on the little screen, on Twitter? What about all the stuff we're doing, live tweeting, et cetera, some of those great examples you saw earlier? So we actually asked people first, just to start off. We actually asked about 15,000 people on the Twitter platform. This was a US-based audience. Who do you like to see TV-related content from? What are those main sources that really get you excited? And probably not a surprise to those of you in the room here, we saw about 60% of people actually tell us that actors and cast are their favorite source for TV information. But coming in the top as well, friends and family. People like to engage with each other and hear other people's opinions about what they're seeing, as well as the official show handle and judges and hosts, particularly in the case of reality. So what does this all mean in terms of live tweeting? Is this something that's actually beneficial for your shows? The Scandal example is a great one to think about in your mind as you're looking at these kinds of statistics. I think they kind of, you can see the cast actually mentioning that live tweeting really helped drive their show to higher levels of success. So let's say when we have a show and there's no live tweeting going on, I'm sure you guys can probably recognize that there is a bump in conversation about the program, just organically. People love to talk about television. When you get involved and you start tweeting from your show accounts, there is a modest lift of another 7% in total conversation volumes. Last but not least, when your cast and talent gets involved, huge lift, almost 4 times higher, 64% lift in terms of total conversation volumes captured for that particular program. So it's really working. Now, I'm sure some of you are looking at the show accounts and going, well, that looks like a pretty modest lift. So is it really worth it? So let's look at things from a little bit of a different perspective, which is what's actually happening to your followership as you're doing this as well. So what's happening is that when the show is on air organically, the show accounts are actually getting the largest organic lifts, meaning people are expecting you to put out fantastic content. They know you're going to be giving them great things, insider information, behind-the-scenes type of information, and they're actually coming, even without you asking, to come in to gain access to that information. Simultaneously, how many of you guys have worked with maybe someone on the talent side who's maybe not so easy to work with, right? This is actually good data to help kind of drive those people towards thinking carefully about how live tweeting can not only benefit the program, but also their own brand. So frankly, if someone is live tweeting their show, it's helping drive conversation for the show and building their own follower base. So it's a really nice kind of combination of effects that we're starting to see. So just what does all of this conversation actually do for us, right? We wanted to understand, let's say that you did see or experience a 10% lift in conversation about your show. The big question is, so what? What does that actually mean? What do you gain from it? How does that benefit you on the program side? Well, the first thing we did is we asked folks, have you ever actually done anything after seeing TV-related tweets in your feed? Have you changed the channel? Have you watched something later or looked up information about the show? And in fact, the overwhelming majority of people that we surveyed in this particular experiment said that, yeah, after seeing tweets in my timeline, I've done stuff. And if you look at, we've actually broken it down. Not only are they taking action on Twitter, they're actually taking just as much action to watch and also engaging with the brands, the advertisers and sponsors of this program offline. So what does this actually mean for Twitter? We like to think of ourselves as open, public, conversational, distributed. We want to make this data available to you. So one of the things that we're doing is actually creating the Twitter TV ratings that are going to be coming, launching slowly. Right now we're launched in the US as well as, I believe, the UK, Italy, and Australia are either launched or just on the cusp of launching, and slowly be rolling out throughout the world. And what this does is it puts the power of all that Twitter data in your hands. So we want to make sure you're enabled to see how your programs are doing day over day, week over week, and to see what the subsequent reach is from all of that activity. The reason we know reach is so important is because we start to see relationships like this, where we see Twitter actually driving the live rating. So this was an experiment we did, or actually Nielsen did in the US, where they tried to understand if Twitter was driving that live rating. And in about a third of all the telecasts they studied, it was in fact true. Now, we've actually mentioned a couple times already today, binge watching, catch-up viewing, these other types of viewing. We know there's a lot of fragmentation out there, so how does this all come into the picture? We're actually studying right now what the impact is on Live +7 viewing as well as week-over-week viewing as well, because we're trying to see how much, if we can explain if the 100%. So we know a third of it is already influenced in the live. What does the remainder of the relationship look like? But we wanted to kind of unpack that a little bit. So tune in. I'm sure you probably all have a lot of questions about tune in, and we'll all be floating around, so you can ask us more questions. But at the end of the day, I get this question a lot, which is, this is great, but isn't this a bad thing for sponsors and advertisers? If everyone is so excited about the program, aren't they looking down at their phones and tweeting while the commercials are coming on? Which means that in general, your advertisers may be concerned that you're doing so much to engage the audiences, that the numbers are so high that people aren't really influenced by the advertising as much. So we started by looking at what's happening during those commercial breaks when people are using Twitter. So this actually looks at when people are watching TV alone without their mobile device at all, they actually tune away 17% of the time over a commercial pod or an ad pod, meaning almost 20% of the time they're tuned into something different on the other side of the ad pod. When you add mobile to the mix, it drops to 13%, and when you add Twitter also, now we're all mindful of the fact that people don't usually use only one mobile app, so this is plus Twitter, not exclusively Twitter, it drops to 8%, which means people are actually staying tuned in longer as well. We then ask the next question, which is, if they're staying tuned in longer, does that mean they're actually more or less influenced by the advertising? And basically, this was a really interesting result for us. I honestly, even being on the research team at Twitter, didn't expect to see such strong results across the funnel. We noticed that it's that Twitter TV audience that's actually jumping up and really showing lifts across the entire funnel, from favorability to purchase intent, et cetera. One of the hypotheses that we have about this is that actually that Twitter TV audience, they're the cream of the audience crop. These are the people who've taken to Twitter because they love the show so much, they love the network so much, they want to stay more engaged. And therefore, they're paying more attention to what's happening on the screen at all times. So even if you're tweeting for a moment, you don't want to miss a second of your favorite program, so you're still very engaged and paying attention to what's happening on the first screen, which is probably one of the hypotheses as to why we see results like this, but certainly there's more work for us to do, and we'll continue studying it as we go. So with that, I want to actually hand it over to Marie, who's going to come up here in just a moment, to talk to you a little bit more about monetization and how we can actually help create great relationships with your content and your advertisers and sponsors. But before she comes up, I'll introduce Twitter Amplify with this short video.
Bonjour à tous. My name is Marie, and I lead the Twitter Amplify program internationally. I saw lots of you actually taking picture of the previous slide, which seems that I've got your interest, which is great. We're going to talk about money. So what I want to talk to you about now is Twitter Amplify, is how we can help you monetize any of your content on Twitter. Taking great TV moments, packaging them with your sponsors, and creating fantastic user experience on Twitter is what Twitter Amplify is all about. So over the next part of the presentation, I'm going to share some inspiring examples to get you thinking how you can be part of this program and also explain how it works. Let's start with an example, the Brit Awards. There was in excess of 4 million tweets that were generated during the broadcast window of that event. And the excitement on Twitter builds around great TV moments, such as a performance of Ellie Goulding on stage. So the Brit Awards worked with us to take real-time TV moments onto Twitter with their sponsor, VO5, on the first screen and on Twitter. Twitter Amplify is a global success. We started with US sports content about a year ago, and we are now live in 10 different countries: France, UK, India, Brazil. We collaborate with over 100 content partners. Some of you are here today, and it's great to be speaking with you. And short of 100 advertisers have run campaigns with us and keep constantly coming back for more. The program has proven to be successful across a multitude variety of rights holders and content owners, TV broadcasters, producers, networks, and across a wide variety of genres: sports, of course, entertainment, reality TV, news. You might have a Bollywood movie of an award or an awards show. Amplify is going to work. We are completely open to new ideas, such as when we worked with TF1, for examples, on programs such as the Soccer World Cup or The Voice. And we constantly onboard new partners to collaboratively develop new solutions that generate incremental revenue for you. So how does that work? Well, Twitter Amplify is a true partnership between Twitter, content owners, and advertisers. You do what you do best. You create content. We bring the blocks around that content to help you make money from any type of content and also help you extend the distribution of that content. I'll show you how it works in 3 simple steps using an example of Show Media, Top Chef Canada, sponsored by Hellmann's. Step 1, TV broadcasters, producers, tweet some content. You know what works best. You know your tweet spot. In this example, Top Chef Canada was tweeting a short video highlight of the weekly elimination. That tweet gets distributed organically to your followers, creating a second screen experience. Step 2, a sponsor and advertiser pays you to integrate a contextual message along with your content, creating an immersive solution for your audience on Twitter. In this example, Hellmann's was running a 6-second video pre-roll in front of the content. And finally, step 3, the sponsor pays Twitter to promote that tweet to a targeted audience beyond your followers, again, generating engagement and additional views. In this example, Hellmann's was using the real-time targeting algorithm from Twitter to target this tweet to people who are passionate about cooking and food. So the real settings comes like this. TV, broadcaster, content owner, you tweet your best content on Twitter, video highlights, for example, to your followers. Sponsors pays you to integrate an ad around with this content. And that advertiser pays Twitter to distribute that tweet to a broader targeting audience. So let's look at this Hellmann's Top Chef example.
Find out what kids are really having for lunch with Hellmann's and Chef Chuck Hughes.
The ostrich egg is weird. It doesn't even seem real. Pieces are chipping off and like hitting me in the face. What do people make with ostrich eggs? Giant souffle? Check.
Your whites look clean. You are on to the next round. Very nice.
Thank you, Chef.
So monetization revenue is one of the benefits of the Twitter Amplify program. However, it is not the only one. With this program, you also get additional reach for your content. The advertiser gets engagements, and the audience gets more participation into their favorite TV shows. Now, we know that the success of Twitter Amplify lies with you in the quality and timeliness of the content. So we've got free tools to help you get from TV to Twitter faster and easier. We recently acquired Snappy TV, which we believe to be the best video editing and sharing platform on the market. Snappy TV can ingest any of your video content. Might it come from live feeds, rushes, and from that interface, what used to take hours capturing, editing, and sharing videos can now be done in seconds. From the same interface, a dashboard, your teams can create short video clips that are adapted to social media. And from the same dashboard, they can instantly share it onto Twitter. We help you go from TV to Twitter faster and easier. I'd like to pause on that example and reflect on something that we absolutely love within the Amplify team. We started the program with sports, and it is with sports that we still see some of the best creative executions. This campaign is a campaign that was done by MotoGP for Bridgestone, their sponsor, and as you will see in this video, which is a little bit more exciting than Giant Souffle, Bridgestone tires are the only thing that enables the riders to do what they do on track. So let's have a look. This video really speaks for itself, right? Perfect integration of the sponsor in a content that is absolutely fantastic for motorcycle fans that tune into that onto Twitter. So I'd like to invite you today to get your ideas, your shows, to work with us so that in the coming year or so, the best creative examples that we will see in the Twitter Amplify program actually come from TV content. Now, what I've shared with you so far are video examples. However, Twitter Amplify is a lot more than video. Anything that you put in a tweet can be amplified, such as this famous JLo hair flip from Fashion Rocks Live, sponsored by Verizon, or a behind-the-scene red carpet Vine from 2 Chainz at the Billboard Music Award. This campaign that was sponsored by Samsung got an engagement rate that was 388% above the Twitter Amplify benchmarks, just with simple content that users want to see on Twitter. Or finally, that Fox Deportes example with a photo gallery for their sponsor Heineken. So I'd like to leave you with a quote from Ariel Elizar, Senior Vice President of Digital Distribution and Licensing at D. Clark Production. Before Twitter Amplify, there wasn't an orchestrated way to cover content creation, production, media, and distribution. Now, we're able to offer our partners with marketing tools that make marketing moments come to life. And with that, I'll hand back to Fred for closing remarks.
All right. Thank you, Marie. So if you're a producer, right, you put the show out there and you watch Twitter, right? The Modern Family producers, by the way, 6 o'clock on Wednesday night, show's on at 9 o'clock on Wednesday on the East Coast. They open their laptops. They see did the jokes work. People care about the characters, whatever. So I'm following Twitter during this. Trending topics in the last hour. TV times Twitter, MIPCOM, great. Audience, tweets, work, 70%. That's kind of awesome. And you clearly got the point. How do you make, miss me? How do you make the second screen as important as the first screen? Give them tweets to retweet. At Nashua, TV times Twitter, attending this extremely interesting seminar. Thank you. About the role of Twitter. Twitter is the heartbeat of the audience. And at Alice Liddell, I feel I'm actually at a social media lecture at a university, and there won't be a quiz afterwards. You're good. You're golden. So this is kind of great. We've only been doing this, really, for 3 or 4 years. And what we found is that Twitter and TV work across genres, across formats, across networks, across countries, in almost every kind of environment. Twitter was not invented as a second screen app. And yet every night, tens of millions of people open up Twitter looking for you. They're looking for your networks. They're looking for your shows. They're looking for your talent. And Twitter and TV gives you a really unique way for you to find your audience and for your audience to find you. When you find each other, Twitter and TV gives you a great way to amplify and increase the engagement and the sharing experience around your shows. And that engagement that you build during the show lasts during the episode, it lasts between episodes, it lasts for the entire season. And if you're talent, it can last for your entire career. Finally, Twitter and TV gives the audience a completely new way to share their love of your show. When I work with TV partners all the time, they say, well, what should we tweet? I said, tweet what you would share and give people content so that they can tell people why they love your show. And when people share that love of your show, it spreads, it distributes through the entire culture. It's a unique phenomenon. So, many of the members of our global TV team, who are pictured here on this slide in this tiny, tiny type, but you can find us all in the back. You'll find us roaming the halls. You'll find us at your parties. You'll find us trying to get you to buy us dinner. We're here to work with you on the shows that you already have on the air, on the shows that you're selling here. We're here to work with you on shows that are in development. Finally, actually, I have 2 things that I want to do. The first, we recently got an Emmy Award. Twitter did. For fundamentally, thank you. Thanks, Dad. For fundamentally changing the way people watch TV. The Emmy committee cited us and they said, you're ubiquitous. You can be used for every genre, on every platform, on every kind of device. This is the kind of Emmy that you get for inventing stereo or color TV or HD. We're that fundamentally changing the way people are consuming TV. And we share that award really with all the producers and the networks and the talent whose work we showed you today, including one, and I just deeply regret that Tony had that problem with his slide. This is a show that's being sold by Sony here right now. In Japan, it's called Tweet Love. Here it's being sold as #Love, and it's a twist on the dating game show, and it's kind of awesome. This lovely woman has it all, except that she doesn't have an eye for men. And so she's going to have 3 men who want to date her. There's subtitles. We can all follow up. Sight unseen, she'll be relying solely on your tweets to choose them. right? So Twitter will actually choose her date on this show called Tweet Love. Kind of insane, right? Kind of great. We're here to help you create the future of TV. That Emmy that we got for changing the way people watch TV is going to be shared with all of you. And our TV group is going to share this with all of you. Now, if we could have the house lights up for just a second. Here's the interesting thing. There are people outside literally waiting to get in. So I'm wondering there should be a midnight show and I can tell my dirty jokes and things like that, right? That'd be good. What I want to do is a big selfie. We're gonna prove that this works, right? So here we are. Here are all you fabulous people. Smile. I'll tweet this out from Twitter TV. Really, wow, look at all of you. You look fabulous. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of Twitter and TV. We look forward to really creating the future of TV with you. And with that, I will say, merci.